All right. Jason, give me your word. Can you hear me? Can I hear you?
I can hear you, man. How are you?
Perfect, man. I'm great. So welcome everybody to the Mint Map Spaces today. It's weekend again, Friday. Everyone should have like the weekend ahead. Good times. First of all, I want to congratulate STC to her new boss. I've seen that you got the golden background with the whiskey trade. I absolutely love that piece. I'm actually in love with the golden background as well. I'm pretty unfortunate because I do not have one. But yeah, maybe in the future. Yeah, Jason, how are you?
Doing well, man. Up late last night working on some code. Not too long out of the bed, so hopefully my brain will start working and my voice doesn't sound too strange. But yeah, I'm good, man. How about you?
Your voice is great, man. Not stranger than usual. um, the let's take a look at the crypto market first. I see that we are still, I've just read that we are in the falling wedge still, which means, yeah, prices are going down. Actually, a pretty usual thing. We see that all the time, so not a reason for people to panic. What about you? Have you sold your bags already?
Nah, dude, I was buying all week. I've probably spent like 700, 800 bucks just buying over the last few days. I the story hasn't changed. The story for crypto just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So I'm buying our project like a madman every time it mints. I'm buying lots of Sol, lots of Bitcoin, and haven't really bought any ETH. Just been kind of sitting on ETH. I don't really see as much upside there. But yeah, so those are the big three, the ones I've been buying. I actually have a little Caspa miner. I don't know if some of you guys are familiar with Caspa, but a few months ago I bought a little Caspa miner. It's just sitting in my spare room, plugging away, mining Caspa, and so every day or two it'll drop, some coins in there, and I'll just turn around and convert that Caspa to Bitcoin. So I picked up like, I don't know, like $300 worth of Bitcoin just from that little Caspa miner. So it's kind of cool.
I know that you are usually, whenever we have a little pump or something, that you usually sell your part of your crypto coins and then buy it back lower. Do you expect it to go even lower now, or have you already like converted all your USDC into crypto now?
Yeah, I'm not sitting on any USDC right now. I actually put the last little bit of USDC into Bitcoin and Solana. I don't know, was it yesterday, the day before? I had like, I don't know, like 550 bucks left maybe in USDC. Just kept buying down, buying down, buying down. So my little cash hoard it's all in, man. So I took a little bit of money out of, I had some cash in savings that I was just sitting on. I bought, a couple $100 here and there and just converted, US dollars to crypto. But everything that I set aside, I'm fully in. I feel like the bottom is near, and it doesn't really matter to me if it is or isn't, but the sideways movement is on, and we are probably 9 months away from a huge run up. It's usually the way it goes. But right now we're in consolidation and accumulation phase. So everybody who's paying attention and understands how these cycles work, they're going to be accumulating at lower prices, and especially the bigger players. I don't know if you saw, but excuse me, but MicroStrategy picked up another, I think, 11,000 Bitcoin over the weekend. They or not over the weekend, earlier this week. I think it was something like $900 million worth of Bitcoin that they bought. They have an average. They have 226,000 Bitcoin at an average cost of like 36,000 a token. So they've doubled up. They're sitting, I forget if it's $6 or $8 billion worth of Bitcoin right now. So that, and then couple that with the fact that the ETF inflows for like BlackRock alone, I think was over 300,000 Bitcoin are now held by BlackRock ETFs. So, I mean, the story, I mean, the writing's on the wall. And if you're a smart buyer and investor, you always buy negative sentiment and sell positive sentiment. So right now, I'm buying all the negative sentiment and picking up quality NFTs, quality tokens everywhere I can, and I'll just sit back and wait for the run, man. I'm not going to try and trade, and people who trade generally lose. So that's not what I want to do.
Yeah, definitely. Read about Michael Saylor as well, that he bought like a bunch of Bitcoins recently. But another thing that was pretty big on X is that Michael Dell, for those of you who are not familiar with him, he's actually, I think, the 14th richest guy in the world. I think it's some kind of computer business. And he tweeted about Bitcoin as well. And, billionaires keep entering the markets. And as you said, like the signs are here. You just need to hold your backs, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Michael Dell is one of the founders of Dell Computer, one of the earliest computer manufacturers. It started in his garage, like so many tech companies, and grew obviously with the advent of the PC for over the last 30 years into, a fairly large brand. So, I mean, Dell Computer's been around forever. They're not going anywhere. And yeah, I mean, these guys continue to tell you what to do. I mean, the smart money always tells you what to do. There's a lot of good people out there who understand what's happening. And if you look at the traditional investing world, I mean, there's a lot of people who still just don't get it. So you don't want to be stuck in the past when big moves happen. And so I mean, the worst case scenario is you sit on the sidelines with something like this. I mean, you've got right now, blockchain has been around for a good 15 years or so. The idea of blockchain has been around for 30 plus years. AI is coming on board. It's not general yet. It's not really AI yet. It's just kind of like a fancy database. That's coming on board. That'll fuel the internet and fuel more people working online. And then the more people who work online and do things in cyberspace will demand digital money. And so that's where blockchain comes into play. So all of these things will converge into, like a usable technology and a usable sort of series of utilities in the near future. And of course, everyone in early are going to be the people who reap the most benefit. So absolutely, man, absolutely. It's the story hasn't changed. It's only getting stronger. I mean, you got like the presidential race is heating up. You got Biden who can almost complete a sentence, and, and then you got Trump who's talking about making America like, or becoming the Bitcoin president. So he's talking a lot about Bitcoin, and all of the people who traditionally would have, I think, voted Republican would probably not necessarily be in the crypto space. Genuinely tend to be a little bit more conservative and a little bit more traditional with their funds. At least that's been my experience. But now you've got a guy out there barking about Bitcoin, and of course, that's going to fuel the interest. He has a NFT collection on Polygon, which actually has done quite well. And more and more people are going to show interest in this type of stuff because you have people in power and people of influence talking about it. So I mean, the story's only getting better, and when that's the case, if the market goes down, that's when you just put the sign up that says fire sale and you just buy as much as you can, because ultimately you're going to get your money back and then some.
Yeah, definitely. But talking about the NFT space, I actually read a pretty interesting thread about it that I just want to read out here, and then hear your shot about that. So let me see if I find it real quick. I actually had it somewhere. Ah, here. Okay. So the original poster wrote, "What concerns me most about the NFT of floor prices at the moment is not that they are down, but the fact that even at these levels, there is almost no upward buying pressure. Why is that?" And then Professor Leo replied, "Because we absolutely overestimated the value of 10 to 20K supply generative art IP rights. Why should I buy myself a Pudgy Penguin for 30K just to be part of the community? There's almost no ways to take advantage of IP rights and build a solid business around." So what do you say about that? Like, do you think we should quit now?
No, I don't think so. I think actually what happened, there was actually a great space I was on the other week. We were talking about this. What's going on in the NFT world is the traditional way of building and promoting has failed, and it's failed many, many times. And it's just like, if you're, I grew up in the South. We grew up fishing, And, when you would go out on the lake with a particular lure and you cast that lure over and over and over again, eventually the fish see it enough and they stop biting it because they realize that it's not actual food. It's not actually something that they can consume. And we call this fishing pressure, right? So, like when the fishing pressure on the lake is high, the fish see all the lures and they stop buying, but they stop biting. And the same is true with NFTs, right? So, like NFTs, the activity was you just threw something against the wall, you hope for the best, and then people would just buy it because it was an NFT. Well, now that energy has shifted to meme coins. So now people are just buying meme coins because they're meme coins. That's where the energy shifted to, right? And then the market will eventually cycle to the major tokens. It'll cycle back to Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, Binance, and those coins will run. And then, of course, everybody will want to jump on that bandwagon after the big runs already happen. So, what's happening basically right now is people are looking at the NFT market as just a place of hype and horseshit anymore. It's like, okay, what's actually happening here? So is the artwork worth holding? And in a lot of these projects, the artwork isn't. It's just not very good. And then on top of that, what is the business plan for that particular project? And in most cases, when you read through some of the stuff that people put on their websites and in their little, Git books, like there's no plan whatsoever. It's just like we're going to knock off this utility that this person knocked off from that utility that this person knocked off from that utility. It's just the same stuff recycled. And so there's no real plan to actually do anything. So the next phase for NFTs is RWA. It's real world asset tokenization, which is what we're focused on bringing to bear. And so when someone says, "Oh, I don't want to pay," like a pudgy penguin, like I don't want to pay 30 grand to be part of the community. Well, people do this every damn day, right? Just down the street from my house, there is a swanky private golf club, and it's $250,000 a year to be a part of that community, right? And so, if you're one of these people who thinks that people don't pay to be part of communities, you're just not paying attention. It's just that simple. But when you compare community with IP rights, when you can compare community and IP rights with an actual business plan, and then you have owners and founders who are actually executing on that plan, executing against it to find use cases in the real world, then you've got a magic sort of, combination. And what we've seen thus far in most NFT projects, although this is changing, I'm gonna shout out some projects later. This is changing. What we're seeing now is people are looking for reasons and ways to actually provide real use in the real world, and that's what the NFT market misses. So when you think back to what the original projects were, it was anonymous person meets anonymous person. We're going to throw together some artwork. We're going to hype it up with influencers, and then we're going to mint it out. And then we're basically going to pretend that we're a community for 3 months and then disappear and go buy a Lamborghini, right? Like that's the original NFT plan. And you didn't have to be good. You didn't have to have any business experience. You didn't have to have any sort of anything relative to the real world, because at the end of the day, you didn't need to sell out. And so nowadays, it's like, okay, well, if you do that, there's the expectation that you're going to actually create from that place. Okay, so you've got this influx of, mint funds or whatever the case may be. What are you going to build with it? And now you've got to get into the hard, or I guess you should say the soft skill sets, like how do you sell? How do you talk to people? How do you reach out to businesses and form partnerships? Right. And I don't see that skill set in most projects or founders. In fact, the few projects that I actually think have a chance are the ones building relationships with businesses in the real world. So, like, if I go down the street and I start talking to the local speakeasy that's got, like the private club that sits behind the false barbershop, which we have one here in town, and I start talking to these people about membership, that's where I can start tokenizing a real world asset. I can tokenize that membership, right? This is what the whales are doing with Def Jam and music. And this is what OK Bears is doing with ING and IP rights. And that's why all of these organizations, ourselves included, this is why we have a great possibility and a chance to be successful as real world asset tokenization comes online, because we have the skill set to go and talk to people, and we're not afraid to meet someone in real life. So I think when you start looking at what people are doing and where the markets are going, that's what's going to happen. That's the next wave. And this is what you and I have talked about repeatedly, about what we want to get in front of and what we want to start creating in terms of partnerships and real world use cases. Not just imagined technology that's fun to share with, your local programmer, but real people. Like, what do real people want? Like, they want exclusivity, they want something that can separate them from the pack. They want status. And how do you do that? Well, you start telling a story, you start selling, you start promoting, but you give them a real reason to be invested in what it is that you're doing. So if I go down the street and, I meet face to face with a business owner and I say, listen, I can show you how to tokenize your memberships, and how this will how you can create reward programs, and how you can reward people who are part of your speakeasy or your gym or your whatever. That's a much deeper conversation and much more useful conversation than, hey, I just created this piece of tech over here that is impressive to my buddy who's a developer, but nobody else really cares about it. And unfortunately, that's where the market is shifting right now, or needs to shift right now. And so the last few spaces that was on with Matic Man, who's out in Singapore. He's actually from the Carolinas, but he's out in Singapore right now. And they were talking about this a great deal. There are companies who specialize in taking real world assets and pairing them with um, digital assets, which is what we're seeing with like the Todd McFarlane DC figures, for example. Like, you've got the Polygon NFTs that you can basically get a free copy uh, of the uh, of the real world asset that you purchased, and you can track it in Polygon with the Todd McFarlane artwork. Like, they're doing the same thing with like plush stuffed animals. They're doing the same thing with like music. Doing the same thing with apparel. Like, imagine you have an NFT, right? And you went and you like created a sweatshirt, like a Goodfellas sweatshirt, and then didn't get me one. So thanks very much for that. But like, imagine that sweatshirt that you had has a little NFC chip in it, right? And so like your Goodfellas NFT sweatshirt's got an NFC chip in it, and everywhere you go, you can flash that NFC chip, and that NFC chip grants you certain benefits or rewards. And then, of course, if you have your IP rights set up correctly and you start partnering with other people, now your NFC chip can actually travel into different universes and give you benefits that you wouldn't otherwise get. And so, what I see happening in the real world for NFTs is, like we talked about real world asset tokenization, but basically granting privileges and benefits to people in the real world as opposed to just online. And that's the next evolution. So the code that's going to come from that, the database tracking that's going to come from that, the UI that's going to come from that, these are all the things that I'm focused on building for us, and I want to see come to fruition. So yeah, I see lots of use cases and lots of partnerships, but I don't see a singular entity, like just a random NFT project sitting alone by itself doing much of anything. I think now is the time where alliances are formed, relationships are built, and then you start working together, which was the whole idea behind blockchain in the first place, like empowering the little guy, empowering small business, empowering the average person to actually, help them get more out of their everyday life. So I feel like I'm probably talking in circles, but I guess the short answer to your question is no, I don't think it's dead by any stretch of the imagination. I think we're just on the cusp of the next evolution. And there's a huge, huge evolution that's happening right now, kind of under the, sort of in the background, that people haven't really begun even talking about yet because they're still kind of sorting it out.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing I wanted to mention is we actually got a ticket in the Discord from someone in the community, and seems like there is another project called Goodfellas in the NFT space. Have you checked them out?
No. Well, there was somebody posted something about, oh, I know what it was. I think it was is it guest user 17? Were you're on here, man? Were you the one that like sent me that link? I went and checked it out, and it was just a dead link. So I don't know if it's a viable organization or not.
I don't think it was guest user. I think it was Dallas. Dallas. I checked it out, and it's basically a collection on Bitcoin, and they are building some kind of, I don't know, it was some kind of slot machine, something. Um, Let me see if I can still find it. Yeah, it was definitely some kind of gamble utility, and I was just curious if I mean our the Goodfellas NFT, like, we have not registered a trademark yet, but yeah, do you think we should like try to get in talks with them, or just let them do what they want and go to zero?
It doesn't matter what they do. I mean, we're not affiliated in any way, shape, or form, so it doesn't really matter what they do. I mean, there's Goodfellas everything out there. There's Goodfellas pizza. You know, there's all kinds of different things that hold the brand, and that's true of pretty much any popular brand because good ideas spread. So I haven't even given them a second thought. It doesn't matter. And in terms of like IP or ownership, I mean, we can basically, if like there was any sort of issue or confusion, it just goes to first use, right? So um, when we say, okay, who has precedence, it's first use. So like I can prove on the blockchain that we had first use of the name. So even if they were doing the exact same thing as us, which I highly doubt, it wouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Yesterday you made a little post in the Discord and said we're stoked to get the community involved in the project and looking forward to revealing what's next. Do you want to drop some details already, or
Yeah, for sure.
do you want to keep? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, faux show. So, one of the things that we've been doing obviously is, we're dropping in small batches and we're making sure the artwork stays fresh as we continue to build on the business side in the background. And one of the things that I think is really important is that people have a stake in what's being created. So inside our community, we have quite a few artists and creators. And I got on the phone. I was able to get on the phone, or I guess I should say, get on a Discord call. It's so weird that it's like everything's Discord or Telegram, but excuse me. But yeah, I was able to get on a Discord call with one of our community members. And basically what I'm doing is I'm commissioning some backgrounds. So in the next batch, we have some new visual interest, and these are going to be more abstract as opposed to like the solid coloration. I think we only have maybe one or two backgrounds that aren't primarily solid colors. And so this particular person does a lot of abstract work and she's selling her work in several different marketplaces. And she put up a couple pieces that basically hit on our primary colors like the reds, the greens, the blues, and the yellows. And so I downloaded a couple of her pieces and I was just playing around, putting them on our artwork with some of the figures. And I felt like there was a fantastic match between the colorations that she had put forth and some of the artwork that we have. And so I just had a conversation with her about basically hiring her, commissioning her to do some backgrounds for us on the next batch. And she seemed pretty excited about that. So it looks like we're going to be able to put together another agreement with another artist, and this time someone in the community who's then going to actually, kind of put their spin on one of our drops, which is super cool. And so we're stoked to get that into the marketplace. I'm stoked to see what she puts together because there's a real challenge with like multicolored backgrounds. And when you're looking at this with an artist's eye, it's like, okay, well, how do I make sure that if I have a multicolored background, that the figure, which is multicolored itself, stands out from the background? So it sounds like a very simple thing. I'll just throw a background on there. But when you start thinking about how things go together and what washes out what in terms of coloration and matching, it's actually a pretty difficult task. So I'm pretty interested to see what she comes up with. I'm going to send her some layers so she can play with it. And what I'll end up doing most likely on the next batch, just like I did on the last one, is because the computer generated stuff is so random, a lot of times you get mismatched colorations, whether it's a trait or whether it's a figure with a background or whatever. I'm not a huge fan of that generative stuff because a lot of times you get just crap. Like the computers obviously don't know what they're doing. They're just throwing layers together randomly, and then you're getting what the computer spits out. So, like on the last batch, for example, in addition to creating the new traits and doing that headwear artwork and the eyewear artwork and creating these pieces, I went through about 50 of those and like hand layered every single one of those, right? And I think this, again, it's one of those things that separates us from other projects where it's like, I really care that the artwork matches and looks nice. I don't really, I don't ever want to put out something that I can't be proud of. And so when it comes to stuff like this, what we'll do is we'll take her backgrounds, which won't work with every piece, and we'll literally go through and we'll hand layer like specific pieces and figures on her backgrounds once they're created so that the figures and the backgrounds actually like are uniform and they match really well and they look like they should be those pieces. Because every time I'm looking at one of these, what I'm thinking about is, especially if I'm like hand layering something, I'm thinking about, all right, if I'm a store owner and I'm owning this IP, and I want to actually print this out and put it on a wall, right, in this big, huge format, maybe in my store or maybe in my home, I want it to work, right? It can't just be some random crap. So I'm always thinking about what is this going to look like if it were blown up and printed? And so that's kind of the eye that I look at it with. And so with her pieces, we probably take up to maybe no more than 10% of the collection and give it those new backgrounds. But they'll all be hand layered and they'll all be, like meant to match what it is that she's doing so that the colorations and the consistency of the pieces remains high quality. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And then as we get closer and closer and closer, we'll start dropping some more like peaks on that stuff. But I'm stoked to see that because, obviously with all of our backgrounds being solid except for one, it's going to be nice to add a little bit more visual interest in there. And we may actually be able to do something with the figures and the clothing to give the figures and the clothing that go on those backgrounds a bit more of a solid coloration instead of like a multicolored coloration so that they work really well and stand out from that background. So yeah, it's kind of funny because it sounds so simple. It's like, oh, we're just going to throw a background on there. But when you start thinking about everything that's involved, you realize, oh shit, it's going to be a lot of work. So yeah, so that's kind of what's going on with the little announcement that I made in the timeline yesterday.
Yeah, I actually loved the samples that you sent me from the backgrounds from her. They were already great, and I feel like we can definitely implement them into the collection. And yeah, I'm curious to see what you managed to create there. Yeah, to every other guy in the community or girl, whoever wants to participate or be involved in the art, and you are maybe like I think we had Charlie who did a lot of AI work, and we talked to him about like implementing stuff into the collection as well. We haven't really decided yet if we want like some AI badge or something. I think we can actually ask the community as well if they are interested in something like that. Like, what is your shot on that? Do you think AI would work?
Yeah, it can for sure. And while we're on the topic of just mentioning people, I just want to say hello to everyone listening out there. STC, guest user, April, Rob, Johnny, Hard Money Heroes, like all you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. And if you guys want to contribute, throw up a hand. Happy to toss the microphone your way and say hello. But yeah, we hope you're all doing well and out there in the internet world. But yeah, like all of you guys who go through the world, like looking at different pieces of art, I know everyone on the call or on the spaces has their particular style, their particular artist, their particular things that they really enjoy and like. Um, and when you see that, like what it is and why it is for you, like it speaks some sort of truth to you. So when you're out in the world and you realize that we have multiple collections with the ultimate goal of building and tokenizing real world assets, like put us in contact with the artists that you really enjoy. We're actively seeking new artists, and we'd love to see different styles from people that you love and people that really move you. We'd love to see their spin on some different figures, maybe their spin on our stuff, or maybe a complete AI drop in their particular style that's PFP related, that sort of thing. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just all one of one related type stuff. But for those of you guys who are, are really in tune with the art and following certain people, never hesitate to reach out, shoot myself or Alex a message, and just let us know, hey, I want to connect you with so and so artist. I really dig their work, and I think they'd be a great addition to the artist incubator, or to provide traits for the OG collection, or whatever the case may be. So we're always open to that. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the view on that. We're not. I think when it comes to the larger collections, like you mentioned earlier, excuse me, still waking up. Sorry, one second. All right, had to clear the throat. But I think when it comes to the larger collections, like one of the big mistakes some of the OG collections made is, like, back in the day when you didn't really have to have any particular business plan or any particular sort of direction. You could just create something and then throw it out there and it would mint out because it was an NFT. I think what that did was it created a lot of space for people to create substandard art. And one of the reasons that I was drawn to the Goodfellows art when I first looked at it was because of all the detail and all of the time and attention that went into every single aspect of most of the figures. And like when I look at the layers of the clothing, for example, or look at the layers for the hair, and when you blow that up, it's hard to see when you're looking at it in Phantom or just in your wallet. But like if you download the image and you look at it on a big screen, and you see the textures, you see the shadowing, and you see the line work, it really speaks volumes for taking a tremendous amount of care in what you're doing. And so this is one of the things that I felt like has always separated this artwork from much of what happens in the marketplace. And when it comes to collaborating with other artists, the only stipulation that we really have is that we want to maintain a high level of quality, right? And so whether it's Maria, or whether it's Daria, or whether it's whatever artist we decide to launch with next, or ask for traits or what have you, like it doesn't matter who or what or where it comes from, or their reputation or their status, how new into the marketplace or how old into the marketplace. It just matters, hey, do you care? Like, are you putting a lot of detail and time into what it is that you're doing? Because I would never want to dishonor our collectors or dishonor our IP by putting some random shit in one of our collections that just didn't meet the standard. And I think a lot of times people forget this, but there was a great conversation about artwork, because I think a lot of times people think when you think art, you think subjective. You think, oh, everything about art is subjective. But the truth is, art is objective. Like there's some very specific traits that good art has, and it doesn't matter the style, whether it's highly illustrative. Like I look at, like if you look at STC's profile pic right now, right? Like this, I think this is one of Maria's pieces. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's just a tremendous amount of detail that went into that, and the balance of colors and the balance of the way the work sits on the page. There's an objective nature to how that's created, right? And that particular artwork is not subjective. Like you can, whether you like that style or you don't like that style, you can appreciate the beauty that went into that creation, because it speaks to someone who understands how to compose an image, right? When I look at my profile picture with the Detroit outfit with the red rose in the center and the gun and the crown that match, right, with the background, those things are not subjective, they're objective. And that particular piece of art works because of that. And so I think a lot of times when we're talking about artwork, we get into this, oh, that, it's just what you like, it's just subjective. Sure, you can like different styles, but what makes a good composition is the fact that you understand how to compose an image. And that's the thing that so many of these original projects missed. They just threw shit out there so they could collect money and run off with your funds. So, the fact that we're not doing that, the fact that we're not only creating from a high quality place, but then granting users IP rights, giving them the ability to build onto whatever brand or collect if that's what they want to do, or to hold interest in the business arms that we're creating on the side. Like we're giving people multiple ways to win, and then you throw in what's coming with the token mints. And I feel like we have a tremendous value proposition that we're bringing to the marketplace that begins and ends with high quality work, right? That's where it begins and ends. So, no matter who the artist is out there in the world, if you feel like there's someone that you want to put on, bring them up. Hey, by all means, shoot me a message, shoot Alex a message, and let's have that conversation and see if we can pull some detail from their work, their compositions, and bring them into our collection. And I think that if you look very closely at what we've done so far, that's what you'll see. That's the through line, right? It's not only like we're not flashing the pan and we're not here to rug you, and we are building an actual business, and we are building an IP rights licensing business, and we are looking for ways to create real world asset tokenization, which we feel is the next wave. But that's all built on the back of this shit is beautiful, and like we care about it, and we're never going to dishonor it or dishonor you by doing some half-assed work, right? So at the end of the day, I feel like that's where it kind of begins and ends. And when it comes to what the future holds, that's really, what I want to maintain, just that real high standard and that understanding that, artwork is beautiful for a reason. It's not beautiful just because you think it is.
Yeah, it's actually, I like what you said about STC's profile picture and like the details she got into it. I just took a look at it and I really love. I actually love everything Maria does. So yeah, 100% agree on that. Um, some people may wonder, like usually we drop an artist incubator piece on, like 21st of any month. This time we kind of postponed it, and I think last time we already mentioned that we are doing this due to some marketing that we are going to start in the coming weeks, and there will also be some kind of opt-in form. Maybe you can drop some words about that.
Yeah, for sure. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to pull up a link. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Okay, so this is something I'm on to. Let's see. Did I put that in correctly? Give me 2 seconds. I'll make sure I have the right URL. Da, da, da. Where are you? Okay, apparently my computer did not remember the link, so I have to go through and pull it up. Give me 1 sec. All right. Okay, so when it comes to, excuse me, Jesus Christ, I can't clear my throat this morning for some reason. Come on. I think allergies the pollen count here is just crazy right now, and so my allergies have been kind of insane. But anyway, nobody cares about that. Okay, so the idea behind building anything, right, especially in the NFT world, has always just been to say one thing and do something else, right? So I don't care, like pick a project, right? What they would do is they're gonna promise you the sun, moon, and stars. Then they're gonna hire some influencers to send buyers to your mint page. Then you're gonna mint out, and then basically the people who influenced others to buy don't care because they were incentivized monetarily, and the founders don't care because they're anonymous and they're not going to be here long enough for you to complain anyway. So when you look at how things are normally done, there's this promise of exclusivity, like you're going to be one of the few people who's engaged in this activity or engaged in this project. But then what they actually do is they just let everybody in because they want to sell out. So there's really no exclusivity in most projects. And so what we've done is we took the complete opposite tact. It's like, okay, well, the selling out can't be the goal. Like selling out is great. Obviously you want to make sure that people are loving what you're doing and that you can move your art. But if it goes to someone who doesn't care about it, then you basically screw not only yourself, but you screw the community and you devalue the IP. And so I'm going to pick on Ben right now, just because Ben is kind of the gift that keeps on giving and not necessarily good things. And this is not this is not like a gripe against Ben. Ben's a good guy. So for those of you guys who've been around, Ben was with us in the beginning, and we had very different visions on how things should grow. His was more traditional. Ours was more, well, we want to be more exclusive so that we don't build something that is just going to, go to zero and fall away. And so, Ben left the project because we couldn't agree that we needed to be exclusive and we needed to do things differently, which is fine. But when he did that, he floored all his pieces. Okay, so immediately he floored all his pieces. And so recently I went into the marketplace and I just bought them all up. I think I spent, I don't know, 500-600 bucks just buying up all his pieces. Well, he held on to a couple other pieces and then he did a giveaway. And so he gave away like this really cool piece to this guy who then showed up in our Discord and was like, I don't care about the artwork. I just want money. Somebody buy this. Give me money. Right. And that was a perfect example of why you don't want to just let anyone into your community. And it's nothing against Ben and it's nothing against this other, guy or girl who just wants the money. But at the end of the day, that's disrespectful, not only to the community and to the artwork, but it shows a lack of care. And it shows that someone really isn't committed to what they're doing, that they're just there to take, right? And if you think about, if you break the world down into givers and takers, you never want to spend too much time with takers because they will exhaust you and break you. That's kind of the way these old projects work. So, Ben launched his project and he was going to mint, I don't know, like 5,000 or 7,000 pieces. Well, the team minted 1,000 for themselves, and then they minted another, 1,000 or so with, influencers or whatever that they did. But none of those people care about the art, even though the artwork is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful artwork. It's absolutely gorgeous artwork. But because no one in the community really cares about it, there's no real value placed on the IP. And when people don't care, that's what you get. And so, when I say Ben is the gift that keeps on giving, that's what I mean. Like we buy him out, we pick up his floored pieces to honor the IP, and then all of a sudden he does a giveaway to, again, someone who doesn't care about our art or his art, and that person shows up and just wants money. So this is not who we want. So when we built this project, we had to gate the project, and gating the project is what allowed us to put artwork in the hands of quality people in the first place. So when I talk about the old ways versus the new ways, the old ways was everybody. We're gonna talk about exclusivity and scarcity, but we're actually gonna give it to everybody. But what we're doing is the exact opposite. And so that's why the focus can't be on sellouts and on big numbers. The focus has to be on finding these people who really care, one by one, building relationships and truly honoring them and the IP. Because one person, who comes into the community with like the wrong attitude and who doesn't care about the IP can literally ruin it for everyone. And so one of the things that Alex and I, are very careful to do is we just want to make sure that people coming into the community are a good fit. And one of the ways that we can do that, this is kind of a long ass way of getting to the point. One of the ways that we can do that is we can gate who comes in by using direct response marketing. So what I was looking for was a link to a opt-in form. And basically what we want to do, rather than using influencers or, like fake accounts and, paying for stuff that really just brings anyone and everyone, is we want to put messaging into the marketplace and buy ads that look for people who actually care about collecting and holding and building an IP rights collection, right? People who understand how important that is and people who care about the community and the IP and who care about, not just that, but also themselves and the collection that they're building. Because otherwise, why would you, you surely want to honor yourself by holding quality things. Otherwise, when you look at your wallet a couple of years from now, you're just sitting on nothing, right? So the way that we do that is we buy ads and we send traffic to a landing page that sifts and sorts people by their interest. And the plan is to basically, anytime we have an artist incubator drop, we want artists to send their following to a landing page that basically asks people to opt in for mint passes. And it basically spells out, hey, this is what we're about. This is what we're looking for. This is not for degens, this is for collectors kind of a thing. And in that way, sort of sift and sort and gate the marketplace. And the people who aren't willing to take the time to do that are basically telling you they're not interested. So this sort of begins the new era where we start coming up on, the 1,000 piece mark in our collection where we're doing batch by batch. It's time to start opening up to other people. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to spend money on ads and we're going to run traffic to landing pages that sift and sort. We're going to bring on artist incubator artists who send their following to landing pages that sift and sort. And those people that opt in will get mint passes, obviously based on their responses. And then those people will be able to mint, and only those people. And so in that way, we want to continue to protect the community and protect the IP and do our best to sift and sort the marketplace for the best of the best. And that's basically what it comes down to. It's at the highest level, it's very simple. Technically, it's a little bit more difficult, but it opens the door for us to do some things that we weren't necessarily able to do before. You can't really do direct response with Discord. You can't really do it with Twitter or X, I guess I should say, because you don't really have any control over the lists. Like you don't have any control over your followers. Like if Twitter or if X decides you do something against their policies, they can just literally eliminate your account. And of course, you don't have access to all that data anyway. So it's much better if you're a seller and a founder in any marketplace to build your own list and then market to that list. And so that's what we want to do, build a list of interested parties who care about IP, care about collecting, care about building real businesses, so that we can continue to bring, a person in here, a person in there, continue to grow the community, person in here, person in there. Rather than 100 people who don't care, I'd rather have one or two people who actually care. And so that's kind of where that's at.
I know you've been working on the opt-in form and the landing page. Do we have a time frame when we're going to release it?
Yeah, I mean I sent you the link. Actually, I could post it right now. I created a generic one. I'm just going to post it in here. Let's see. How do I do this? I don't know how X works. Uh, yeah, so I basically just created a generic one that basically will collect, wallet, Discord ID, and some email, whatever email someone wants to use. And basically, this one is just for like a template. And then what we'll do is when we work with like Maria or Daria or Streetwalker or whoever the next artist is that comes in, we'll customize that page for their particular art and their drop, and then we'll create a separate link that's just theirs, right? And so yeah, so right now there is one link that's live, and this stuff will ultimately live on the website. It's actually on the website right now. There's just not a menu link to it. But ultimately, what we'll do is we'll fill all this in on the website so that it can be accessed by the different artists and by our community members if our community members have someone that they want to recommend. And then, of course, as more and more people come through, we'll have custom pages for them. So, like this generic page that I created this week is a good template, but it's not something that I would use for Daria because it doesn't really showcase her work yet. It showcases the OG work. So I'm going to duplicate it and create one that showcases her work so that people who are interested in that series know what they're getting, know why they're there, right? Which makes perfect sense. But yeah, they're already live. There's one already live right now, and we'll have more coming on board, probably one at least for every artist or every drop. And these will continue to multiply over time so that we can just send each individual artist or each individual batch or each individual invitation to whatever matches that particular energy, that particular collection, right? So yeah, they're already there, man. Time frame wise.
Perfect. Have you dropped it now somewhere? Because I haven't seen it. Let me.
Yeah, I was trying to find the link, but the link wasn't working. Or
Ah,
I'm
okay.
sorry, the
So it's
the link.
actually
I had
it's
the
it's
wrong link.
about. Ah, okay. So you can drop it basically.
Yeah.
Um, okay, perfect. So if you guys want to check out that opt-in form and get your Min Pass, that would be great. And I think we are through with the most important topics we had for today, right?
Yeah, I think for the most part, absolutely. Covered covered quite a bit. I think I did more talking than I wanted to, but yeah, what else you got?
I'm actually always happy when you talk a lot because I like listening to you. So I think it's great. Yeah, I think we're good for today. Looking forward to see the opt-in form live and going to try it as soon as as soon as you put out the link. And yeah, this should be it for today. Thank you everyone for listening again. Podcast episodes are up and will be uploaded regularly on Tuesdays, I think. And yeah, hope to see you guys next week again. Looking forward to that. Thank you everyone for listening and bye bye.